Hi, this is Rosa. It's good to see you again. Hey, today I want to talk to you about how this last week went, some of the Spark ideas I was working on and how they went, and then what my plans are for this upcoming week and the Spark ideas I want to act on coming up. So I'm going to circle back a little bit to last week. I talked a little bit about shoes and trying to assess the shoe situation I had for my walking. Now that I'm walking a lot, I recognize I need to have some really good shoes. So after the video last week, realized the shoes that I had planned on using are actually very close to wearing out. I've had a couple of experiences in the past that didn't go well with worn out shoes. Probably the one I can remember the most, or that had the biggest impact, is many years ago, I was trying to recover from a real difficult health year or two. And my family and I went on a color run, and I'd never been to a color run before, so I wasn't quite sure what to expect, but I knew that I didn't want to ruin my good shoes. And so I wore some shoes that were a little bit more worn out. And this color run was, I think it was 5K, so 3 miles. And at the time, that was a lot of miles for me. And I actually don't know if I had done that many miles in a year or two from that experience, because I was still in recovery. And I wore these old shoes, and that 3 miles in my old shoes ruined my feet for pretty close to a year. I never went to a doctor about it, but from what I read, I was pretty sure I got plantar fasciitis, and the only way that my feet felt comfortable is if I was in very tight and supportive tennis shoes. And it felt like that for a year. So shoes matter, and I recognize that. Last year, I also started walking a lot. This is right after Christmas of 2020, so early 2021. And I was initially wearing my cross trainers, which weren't very old at the time. And I started walking so much that within a month, I just felt the cushioning just completely collapse, and any support I had just quickly went away. And so I happened to order a pair of walking shoes that when I got them, my first thought was, these are very ugly. And then I put them on, and they were so cushiony and so comfortable, it was like walking on pillows. And so it's been my mission ever since then to find those same shoes. And that's kind of the position I'm in right now. Still trying to find the perfect walking shoe. So in a last desperate attempt, I looked on Amazon. I looked for my size for the New Balance 496. Those are the kind I like. And they had my size in white. I hate white shoes. I, many years ago, saw somebody compare white shoes to Minnie Mouse, and now I can't unsee it. Plus, I usually walk on dirt roads, and that's just a disaster for white shoes. And so it was really the last thing I would have wanted. But I made a difficult decision at that moment that I would prioritize my foot health over vanity, and I bought the white shoes. So they're on their way. Okay, so very next day, I think I told you that I bought some off of a sketchy website. Well, I happened to get an email from that sketchy website, and the pair I ordered last summer, or during the summer, is finally shipped. And so very shortly, I should have 2 pairs of New Balance 496s that hopefully fit me. So looking forward to that. I also bought another pair of shoes to wear more just around town, or maybe to work, when I didn't necessarily need walking shoes, but I just needed better shoes than what I have now. So hopefully that issue is resolved, at least for the near term. Another spark that I had to work on is to work on prioritizing my heart health. What I wanted to do was ramp up my walking, but that wasn't actually going to happen. This week was really one of just being in survival and maintaining. And even though my heart wanted to go to 5 miles a day as my main objective and my main goal, I think that I was just experiencing some of the effects of ramping up walking so fast. I got a blister on my toe that just was really hurting and not getting better. I also starting to get a little bit of heel pain. And I think those are mostly just from doing a lot fast. And so the first couple days I did just maintain at 3 miles, even though I wanted to do 5. and those issues have largely been resolved. But as far as like what I need to do to ramp up my heart health, I'm still working on that. I wouldn't say that I made progress other than I recognize that that's something that I need to do, and I have ideas of what I can do to do that. And I'll work on those shortly. So next thing I wanted to mention, very exciting update as far as my managing stress level. Okay, so the situation that I was in has resolved. So my husband was actually away for work for about 3 weeks. And that was really hard on me and my son. And I have a lot of gratitude for the people that helped us. I'm super happy for my husband that he had the opportunity to go do what he did. And, you know, when he first told me about it, we had very little time to decide whether he was going to go do that or not. And my initial reaction was, heck no, you're not leaving me for 3 weeks. But I can remember Lena's, I think it was one of her first videos, she talked about being somebody that that's a wind blower, that helps support people in their ambitions and their goals, and not somebody that that blows out your fire and blows out your spark. And when she talked about that, I honestly felt a lot of guilt for being somebody that blew out people's fire, especially the people that I love. I know that I absolutely have done that in the past, where people have come to me with their dreams or aspirations, and I've just shot it down. And I know that I've had a tendency to do that to the people that I love more than anyone, and that that hurts. Looking back at that I was ever responsible for that, and I don't want to do that. And so when my husband told me about this, I recognized that that was something that I could do, was help be supportive of that. And that was something that we could do as a family, was to support that goal that he had. And so looking back at it, I'm so grateful to have my husband back and have parenting help and have household help and just to have him back. Super grateful for that. I'm also really proud of myself and my son that we were able to make it, and then we did good. And so some of the things that I think helped us, I've talked about them in some of the previous videos, not knowing what the situation was, but some of the other things that have helped us, being very prepared, having food ready to go. I spent a lot of my time on weekends meal prepping to have food for the next week and have a plan and know what I was going to do. Everything from smoothies for my son every morning, to having meal prep lunches for me to take, to knowing that I was going to go buy a salad at Kainoa's 4 nights a week. And that's exactly what happened. And it worked well to have that. That was really helpful. Another one was to do laundry and put it away right away, to keep up on laundry. I don't know about you, but to me, one of the most frustrating things is to, in the moment, need to find a shirt or matching socks or something out of a pile of laundry. And it just, time just seems to stand still when you're in that situation. And so having the laundry done and kept up on and put away, that was a really big help. And so I tried to do that the whole time that he was gone. Keeping up on dishes, doing those right away, establishing routines and sticking with them. We had routines in our morning to get us going. We had routines for our meals. We had routines for after school. We had routines for bedtime, and all of those were really important in helping us get through those couple of stressful weeks. So another spark that I had during the week, homework is really hard for me to take on, and my husband usually does that. And I had a lot of help on that, but I had a spark partway through. And this actually came from an idea of a coworker of mine mentioned that she hires high school kids to help her elementary kids with homework. And so I did that. I reached out to a niece and asked her if she's interested, and she was. And so she's been helping my son with homework, and it's a win for all of us. I'm so appreciative of that. So really grateful that that situation is taken care of and my husband's back, and that we're just all together again. Super grateful for that. So I want to talk about this week, something else that happened. So Saturday ended up being a really tough day for me, emotionally and mentally, with my health. So we had a family reunion, and it was about an hour away in a little town, and we ate a good breakfast before we left. And I actually knew going into it what was for lunch and what time we were eating. But we had probably been gone from the house about 5 minutes, and I realized I was already hungry. And I also realized that my son wasn't going to eat what was on the menu. And so I talked my husband into going to Taco Bell. So I ate 3 tacos, I ate nacho fries. Then we went on to the reunion. So at the reunion, we had Hawaiian haystacks, and my plan was to load up on vegetables and just try to get a lot of my produce in, and that just didn't really work out. And then after I ate my Hawaiian haystack with not as much produce and vegetables as I wanted to eat, I ate 3 desserts. And then a little bit later, I went over to my in-laws' house, and at that point, I was starting to get really hungry. And the only thing that I could find in the moment, I'm sure if I'd asked, I would have had other things, but there were Rice Krispie treats on the counter. And so I ate 3 of them. And by the time we left, I think we'd been there about 8 hours. And I was just so frustrated with myself. And I knew that I hadn't gotten my produce in. I knew that I'd made food choices that I didn't want to make. And on the way home, we stopped and got a salad, and I ate that. And because I had eaten so much junk that day, I actually didn't have room for the whole salad. And so I filled up very fast, and I ate it anyway. So then I didn't feel good. And then I hadn't gotten my miles in. It had been kind of a hot day, but we had a storm that night, and I went to try to get my miles, and there was just so much lightning around me that I didn't feel like I could. And so eventually in the evening, I was able to go out at a time where there wasn't a lot of lightning or rain, and I got my miles in. But by then I was just so frustrated. And I can honestly say it's one of the first times that I remember feeling defeated in this whole health journey. I've been on this particular health journey since June, and Saturday just felt like I backslid that day, and I just couldn't see myself out of that situation or out of that defeating feeling. And I even knew in the moment that this too shall pass, and tomorrow's another day, and it wasn't that big a deal, but it just felt so heavy. So thankfully, tomorrow came, and the next day I had a completely different shift in the way I was thinking, and I woke up with a really clear head and a really encouraging mindset. And my first thoughts really were, yesterday was really tough, but what can we learn from it? And I'm so grateful that I was able to shift and have that, wake up with that perspective and to really think through it that day. And so I took some time to reflect on what are some of the things that I could learn from that. And so what I think I needed to learn from that is that no matter what, anytime I travel any distance, even only an hour away, even in a small town America, I need to have a plan for traveling. I probably need to bring my food with me, even if it's only an hour away. I need to advocate for myself, and I need to only eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full. And that's a lesson I feel like I've learned a couple of times, but I feel like I learn it a little better each time. So probably still a few more times before I get that down. But I recognize that I could have done that better Saturday and stop eating when I was full. Okay, so moving on to yesterday. So yesterday was Sunday for us. And so I am totally committed to 3 miles a day at this point. I have done that. I didn't add it up. I think I've done it for 21 or 22 days in a row at this point that I've walked 3 miles a day. Probably longer, but I didn't add it up. It's not in front of me anyway. So anyway, that was non-negotiable. But so yesterday was just an example of I have a problem to solve, and there's a solution to every problem. So it got to be mid-afternoon, and we got a really good sized rainstorm. And I looked outside and I was like, God, what am I going to do in this? So us Arizona people, we're not used to rain. And when it does happen, it's almost like we melt and we don't quite know what to do with it. But it just so happened that this summer, well, I took this problem to my husband and I told him about it. I was like, hey, I really want to go walking, but we're going to get soaked. And there wasn't a lot of lightning out, or there really wasn't much at that point. So I didn't feel unsafe. I just felt it was just really wet. And so it just so happened that this summer we went to Montana. And before we went, we bought our whole family rain jackets. And so my husband said, we've got these rain jackets, why don't we use them? So we put on our rain jackets, and I put on an older pair of shoes because I didn't want to get my shoes that I'm wearing every day wet for today. And so I just wore one that was a little bit older, and we went on a walk. And it was beautiful. We walked down the street that I grew up on. And as we were walking by, I just told him about every one of those houses and who lived there and what my memories were of them. And it was just really sweet and a fun day. The rain stopped on our way back. So I should say this is one of the first times that we walked entirely on pavement. Usually we go off on a dirt road somewhere, but we stayed on the pavement. And when we got back, the rain had already stopped. It had stopped probably about halfway through the walk. And there was the most beautiful double rainbow that we were rewarded with. Almost, it looked just like it was right over our house. It was so beautiful. And I'm just so grateful for that opportunity. So super grateful to have approached it with, there's a solution to every problem and there's a problem to be solved here. So I just appreciated that experience. So I want to talk a little bit about things that I want to work on and sparks that I've had. Some of these are sparks that I've had for a while. I just haven't had a chance to tackle them. And I actually don't know if I'm going to have a chance to tackle them this week, but I wanted to get them out there in case I do. If not, then we'll update them later when I do have a chance to tackle them. So one of them, and this I believe, for a couple of reasons, I really want to eat more of a Mediterranean diet. I have read that this is considered one of the most heart healthy diets. Also, just coincidentally, Christy, in one of our conversations one time, she had me visualize the kind of food that I want to eat when I'm in a healthy state. And part of that exercise was knowing that I can eat it now and like working towards that now. There's nothing stopping me from living the life that I want to live in the future now, to working towards that and eating those kind of foods are things that I know that I can do now. And when I envisioned this in my mind, it was Mediterranean food. It was things like chicken shawarma and things like couscous and brown rice and garbanzo beans and a lot of vegetables. And this was the kind of food that I envisioned. And so I would like to start eating more of a Mediterranean diet and start working that more into my diet. Another thing that I would like to do is start eating more beans and lentils. I don't feel like I get enough protein. I don't crave meat. I don't eat a lot of it. And I think that I could use the fiber and the protein from beans. I have grown up in Arizona, and I have access to a lot of really delicious Mexican food. And from my experience of the really delicious Mexican food around me, nothing compares to the quality difference between freshly prepared beans and canned beans. And so I do not want to eat canned beans. And so by my ambition to eat more beans and lentils, I want to freshly prepare them. I have a lot of them already in my pantry. They're easy to cook. I just need to take the time to do it. One tip that I have seen is to drain the beans and freeze them and use them like a scoopful at a time as you need it. And so I do plan to do that when I get to that goal. Another thing that I'd really like to do is a closet purge. I have clothes from every size I've ever been for many, many years back. Minimal Mom is somebody that I really love to watch on YouTube, and I really love her ideas and her thoughts. And one of the things that she talks about is that we deserve to have clothes that fit us well, that we feel good in. And the clothes that don't fit us well just have a tendency to make us feel bad, and that we don't really have a purpose of keeping them in our closet. And I've known that for a long time, but suddenly a couple months ago, it just snapped. And I was like, you know what? I no longer want these clothes that don't fit me. When I get to that size again, I'll figure it out. Some of these won't be in style anymore. Some of them I'm just tired of. Some of them just don't remind me of great memories, and I would just like to get rid of them. One that I have in mind, I know that once I dig into my closet, I'm going to find so many things, but one that I know is there is I probably have jeans from every size that I've ever been as an adult. I wear jeans to work every single day. I work in an industrial setting, and I wear them out really fast. And so I have ordered the same jeans and bought the same jeans for years and years and years, the same type, same style. But a couple years ago, I actually changed styles that I wear, and I like the new ones better. So I don't see any point in keeping the multitude of jeans that I've saved up for eventually when I was that size. I think it'll just make me feel better if I just get rid of so many of the things that no longer fit me, are no longer serving me at this point. And so that is something that's really ambitious. So I know that I'm going to have to eat that elephant one bite at a time. And hopefully I can get started on some of it shortly, but I think that's going to take me a long time. So I did want to talk about this last week, one more thing as I wrap up. So at the end of the last video, I had told you guys that I had lost weight 5 days in a row and how grateful I was for that. It turns out that I lost weight one more day in a row. So in total, I lost weight for 6 days in a row, and super grateful for that experience and that uplifting experience. So I'm back to oscillating weight again, but at this point I'm oscillating 5 pounds lower than I was before. So I'm really grateful for that. The other thing that I wanted to mention is miles. And so I started walking on purpose somewhere around September 20th or 21st. I don't actually remember what date it was exactly. And I started noticing lately just how much I'm walking. And so I decided to add them up. So I added up a month worth of walking. And at this point today, I crossed over and I've walked just over 100 miles this month, in the last month. So super grateful for that, that I was able to reach that milestone. I just love it. It just makes me feel so good to get out there. One thing that I wanted to mention, really to wrap it up, middle of the week, I went out walking with my son, and my favorite place to walk is a road not very far from my house, and it's a dirt road, and it's between two cotton fields. And I love to go at sunset, and it just smells so heavenly. It's so beautiful. The breeze is perfect. The temperature is perfect. And that afternoon, we got out there right at the right time. And my son was so chatty. He just talked and talked and talked and talked. And I just loved every minute of it. And I just was so grateful that we were in a place and a time and the circumstances were right, that he felt like he could open up to me and talk about anything that was on his heart. And I felt so grateful that I was in a place and a time where I had no other distractions and I could just sit there and absorb it and listen to it and just love it. And so I just want to end with that. I love you guys. Thank you.